This is the Balkan Adventures Podcast, everyday life and experiences in the Western Balkans.
Hello, I'm David Bailey. I'm an Englishman in the Balkans, and welcome to another edition of the Balkan Adventures Podcast. I'm going to turn make the microphone sound not so distorted. Well, I hope it doesn't sound distorted. It's the 14th of June, which is a Thursday, and it's weather-wise, and, you know, English or British people, I think, always find talking about the weather as the easy introduction to anything. So if you meet people for the first time and you're feeling slightly uncomfortable, you always talk about the weather, and that sort of like breaks the ice. And I suppose we're all guilty for that, us Brits. But I'm in the office at the moment, looking out the window, and I mean, this is June the 14th, right? And over the past week or so, we've been having 30, 34 degrees Celsius days, roasting hot. We live in a sort of rural area, and some of my neighbours have small holdings, and, you know, along with keeping pigs and cattle and sheep and whatnot, we sometimes get attacked by flies, swarms of flies. Not to put you off coming here, it's not all the time, but on occasions we do get some flies, and they've been pretty vicious these last couple of days. But what I wanted to say was, looking out the window at the moment, it's just grey skies, and we're down to 20, so we've done a drop of about, 9 or 10 degrees over a period of a day and a half. We've also had some very strong winds yesterday, and flash downpours of rain, which I think in one way is good because it calms everything down, cools the land down, gives us a respite from this heat. But also with our garden that we have here, and I don't do anything in the garden. It's Tamara's parents that like to run it, and it is their train set, so to speak. So the downpours of rain are really greatly appreciated by the garden and all the vegetables that are now being grown, and also for the myriad of fruit trees. I mentioned this in the past, that we've got an orchard of plum trees, and the plums will be picked at the end of the season and then distilled down into rakia plum brandy. Looking out the window, I can see all the grapes. They're not too big at the moment, but they're definitely green, and they're growing on and on and on. That could be turned into wine, but also, depending on what the crop will be, that could also be turned into alcohol, into loza. Some pear trees, some plum trees. We have walnuts as well. And right at the top of the garden, because we're on a sort of a hill, we've got some raspberries that I was given as cuttings earlier on in the year. No, the tail end of last year, actually. I'd been to Novi Sad, and on the way back, the guy that gave me a lift said, I need to speak to my friends who lived in a village just outside Brčko, which is on the Bosnian Herzegovinian and Croatian border. And while we stopped and had a chat, I mean, nobody could speak English, and my local language was really struggling in the conversation. Although my friend was able to do some translating for me, as is people's want here. They're so hospitable. So not only do they give me tons and tons of nice Bosnian coffee to drink, which has got more caffeine, it has more caffeine than you would need to kill a racehorse, I think, but gave me some cuttings of their raspberries. And we've kept them over the winter, and they're in the ground now, and they're doing unbelievably well. So I'll most probably try and make that into some form of jam, I think, because that's what I like doing. It's easy for me. Don't need too many skills to do that. And of course the plum, that's the microphone being knocked. The apples, rather not plums, the apples I'll turn into chutney. So there we are. But it's chilly outside, and it looks like it's going to remain this way for a good few days to come. Right up to Monday, in fact, which might be not a bad thing for us, because we're driving off on Monday to Trogir, which is a town on the Adriatic coast in Croatia. It's about, 4.5 hours drive for us. Not motorway driving. And we're looking forward to going there, getting involved in a project there. and I'll say no more than that. But if you're following my blog, which is an Englishman in the Balkans, that's all one word.com, or you search on your favourite search engine for Balkan Adventures, you'll find this podcast. And obviously I'll be talking about some of the things that I'm seeing and experiencing there, and there'll be some videos as well on the YouTube channel, which is an Englishman in the Balkans as well. When I did the last podcast, I was talking about anxiety that I was suffering with, and I got a couple of nice comments off that, so thank you very much indeed for taking the time to comment. It meant a lot. But in that sort of like relaunched format of these sort of like just me chatting, I said I would play 2 pieces of music from the region in every podcast. This one is from a singer called Amira from Sarajevo. The Balkan Adventures podcast. I'm David Bailey, otherwise known as an Englishman in the Balkans. Before that piece of music from Amira, I was saying maybe that I would be changing the format of the podcast into, opportunities for me just to ramble on a little bit and give you a feel for my life here in the Western Balkans. But I will also be catching up with people and doing interviews and trying to, give you a view into life here. And what better way to do that than to talk to local people that are making a success, and local people that can tell you how it is for them being here. Tam's friend Ella, who originally comes from a town called Machonichgrad, which is south of Banja Luka. Ella and Tam used to be great school friends many, many years ago, and Ella came back for the 25th school reunion. And so the two girls went off and had an absolute blast. But it was really interesting talking to Ella about what it used to be like back in the day. And how life has changed. And Ella now lives in Amsterdam. And it was really interesting to find how people's perspectives are when they live in another country. I don't want to go into too much detail because, when you talk to people over coffee, that they don't want everything they're talking about, broadcast to the world on something like a podcast like this. But she left the country in 1992 and went to the Netherlands via, I believe, Portugal and France, possibly. But we were trying to talk about integration, and it's easier said than done. And there were a lot of similarities actually between somebody that's left the country, now speaks perfect Dutch, has a career in the Netherlands, and has rebuilt a life basically. And to see those similarities and the sort of obstacles that she went through, and the obstacles that I've gone through and do go through, they are no way are they the same. She's gone through a lot of shit, which fortunately for me, I haven't. But it would be silly to say that, as a foreigner, you can come into any of the Western Balkan countries, whether it's Serbia, Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro, or even here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and have the divine right to stay. It's not like that at all. There's a lot. I keep hitting the microphone. I do apologise. There's hoops to go through. There's paperwork to produce. There has to be a reason to stay, and it doesn't mean that because you want to stay that you can. So there are a lot of obstacles. And is it at all possible? Do people actually want to assimilate, or do they just want to live in another country and feel happy, have a happy life, and achieve their aims their own way? And for me, I did come here back in 1993. For those that have followed me will say, oh, here he goes again. For about 4 weeks or so in 1993, so I did experience a little bit of the conflict here, which wasn't very pleasant. And then I came back again, different circumstances, in 1998 with the stabilisation force, NATO stabilisation force. And I don't know, I hadn't met Tam then. It would be 4 years till that would happen. But, almost immediately, I think you either love it or you hate it. I think the country is absolutely beautiful. I think the people are absolutely fantastic. They're exceedingly interesting to be with. The culture it's like an adventure for me every day. And I've been here, on and off now for 16 years. I did work away for a bit. But it is an adventure every day. No 2 days are the same. Whether I'm experiencing new types of food or new ways of preparing food or seeing new things. It's amazing. And like on Monday, we're going to jump in the car, most probably after an easy breakfast on Monday, and drive 4.5 hours south of Banja Luka. I think the route we're going to take, we're going to go across Manjača, which is a very open, remote area. I think there's bears there now. And then go down into the valley that is on the Bosnian side of the Dinaric Alps around Livno, and then over the Dinaric Alps and down the other side to the Jadran coast, the coast of the Adriatic Sea. So we're going to be, Trogir is just slightly north of Split. And there's going to be so many things to see. And no matter how many times I drive around the country, there's always something new to see. So from my perspective, that's what excites me. My obstacles are language, which is a very difficult language, the languages of the former Yugoslavia or from the region. I can get by. Today, as I said, this is being recorded on Thursday the 14th. It's the start of the World Cup. So Tam's father and I will sit down, he doesn't speak any English, in front of the TV, and we'll watch the football match, and we'll be talking about football with each other, with my totally broken Serbo-Croatian, if I can use that expression. And it'll be just great fun. And I think Tam's coming back with her mother, and then we'll most probably sit down and have something to eat. And so one of my obstacles, which is language, I'm coping with, about integrating. I don't push my Britishness at all and say, oh, this is wrong and you shouldn't be doing this and we do this much better where I come from. No, I don't do that. I rather like to sit back and say, guys, how you guys do it? And while some things are a little bit weird and are still weird after all these years, it's it's really, really interesting and something that I love experiencing, without a doubt. I don't know, maybe we're about 17 minutes into the podcast for this edition. Second piece of music now. This is a piece of music. It's the English translation is Moonshine, which is the title of this song, and it's from an ethno-folk group from the nearby town of Laktashi, which is about, I don't know, as I look out of the window, it's about 4 or 5 kilometers away. So this is Moonshine. Techno Grupa Trag from Laktashi in northwest Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that was Moonshine. So yeah, another bit of a ramble. If you're listening to the podcast, do drop a comment. And the reason I'm asking for that, I'm not begging to say, is anybody listening? I can see that from the statistics that come up. But it would be interesting to find out what you would like me to talk about, or what you'd like me to find out about. And maybe, if you've got a link to the Balkans, maybe we can do a chat. Skype is amazing for that these days. And if you are in the Banja Luka area, then who knows? It's, we can get in touch either through comments here on the blog or on Facebook or whatever. Maybe we can match up and catch up rather. And I've got a number of different recording devices, so maybe we could sit down and have coffee in a coffee bar in Banja Luka one day, or maybe Laktashi or wherever, and just talk things through. Especially if you've got an interesting story. I like telling stories, and it's taken me a long time to get comfortable with the fact that, although, am I still comfortable? That's a good question. I'm asking myself now. About, is my life interesting? People like to find out about it. So, yeah. Let's do it. Predrag's just stopped cutting the grass. I think it's going to rain. And he always takes a bit of a break in the early afternoon. So he'll be doing that. And I think, I'll call it a day. Thanks for giving me your time whenever you're listening to this. It would be fun for me to find out where you are in the world, and what you think about this sort of podcast. There will be more. Don't be mistaken. Me chatting to interesting people, and hopefully that will be something that you might want to subscribe to. I've got a feeling that he's waving at me through the window. So it's off to get a rakia, some of our home distilled plum brandy from a few years ago. And I think it's best that I have it afterwards, otherwise I would be really burbling if I'd had a few of those. It is about 52%, I think. Okay then, that's it from this edition of the podcast. Fruit and weird weather. I'll catch you on the next one. Please do subscribe, do tell your friends, and yes, see you soon. Stay safe wherever you are, and bye for now.
To find out more about us and where we live, why not check out our blog at anenglishmaninthebalkans.com. See you next time.